So I said that I've titled this as History Should Teach Us. Now, why have I titled this as History Should Teach Us? Because that is important. And the Old Testament is a book of history, a history of why people would backslide, as to what would happen when they backslide, what would the consequences of people forgetting God and completely doing whatever they want, and the people with whom God was happy, people of faith who would transform the earth and be a blessing, and people who would give up faith, and all those things. Have you got it? So that's why it's important to know the Old Testament, because the Old Testament teaches us a lot about individual people. It talks about their failures. It talks about what went wrong. It talks about why David would backslide and sin. And what was the problem of Solomon because he had so many heathen wives. And what was the greatness of somebody like Joshua, who actually could lead the people across the river Jordan. And why did Moses, for one mistake, had to suffer? It teaches us enormously what happened in the Garden of Eden and goes on. So never ever say, I just want to read the New Testament. I find the Old Testament complicated. If you do not read the Old Testament, you will do the same mistake that the people of the Old Testament did and end up with the same fate. So it starts in verse 1. I don't want you to forget. What does it say? I don't want you to forget, dear brothers and sisters, about the ancestors in the wilderness long ago. All of them were guided by a cloud that moved ahead of them. All of them walked through the sea on dry ground. In the cloud and in the sea, all were baptized as followers of Moses. All of them ate the same spiritual food. All of them drank the same spiritual water, for they drank from the spiritual rock and traveled with them, and the rock was Christ. Yet God was not pleased with most of them, and their bodies were scattered in the wilderness. What is Paul telling us? Who was in the midst of the people of Israel? Jesus Christ himself. So let's look at these pictures. Who parted the Red Sea? Jesus Christ parted the Red Sea. Can you imagine that? And they went through the waters, and that was a form of baptism. What a powerful testimony of the living God in the midst of the people of Israel. What a wonderful testimony. Then they went short of food, and God provided them with something called manna. The Bible says it tasted like wafer, and it tasted like honey, and it keep coming for them every day, except on the Sabbath. And they were eating it. And the Bible tells us what was this bread was Jesus himself. He was the bread of life, and he was feeding them. And they would reject and said they are bored of it. It happens to many of us, right? Long time with Jesus, sometimes we get bored and we say, no, my lifestyle is completely hampered. And these people had the same problem. They started complaining, oh, manna? It's so boring eating manna. We want to eat meat, and we want to eat leeks, and we want to eat garlic and everything. This ready-made food is probably, this was the fastest or the earliest fast food in the world. They wake up in the morning, it's right there for them, and they were not happy with that. And then every morning when they wake up, they'll see this pillar of cloud standing ahead of them. When the pillar of cloud moves, they move. What more testimony could have that God was in their midst? And in the night, it would be a pillar of fire. And then, of course, there was this problem. There were no water. They were complaining. And Moses strikes the rock, not once, but twice. And the rock was Jesus. The Bible says, and the rock was Jesus. And he was giving them living water. But the problem out there was he struck it twice. And God was upset with Moses because Moses disobeyed his command. And that was the standard of God. Then after that, these people complained so much that finally they would die in the wilderness, bitten by the snakes, because the protection that God had over them was getting in a way tattered, as you allowed sin to come and dwell all around you. As you allowed sin to come and dwell all around you, right? So Numbers 21, this is a face, the grumbling people, many Christians also grumbling all the time. Oh, look at my friend, non-Christian, he's doing so well. His marks are much better. His daughters have got better husbands. And look at my life, grumbling, grumbling. God saying, look, I'm preparing you for eternity. If I did all those things that you wanted so easily, you'd forget me and you'll walk away. So I am doing something beautiful in your life, astoundingly beautiful. And so they began to speak against God and Moses. Why have you brought us out of Egypt to die in the wilderness? This is Numbers chapter 21. Remember, this is not 1 Corinthians 10. I just brought it in to make you understand the aspect of history that Paul is teaching. And they complained, there is nothing to eat here. There's nothing to drink. And we hate this horrible manna. Whose manna? Manna of Jesus himself. We hate this horrible manna. So God sent poisonous snakes among the people, and many were bitten and they died. And the people came to Moses and cried out, "We have sinned by speaking against the Lord and against you. Pray that the Lord will take away the snakes." So Moses prayed for the people. Amazing. And God will say, make a big pole, put up the very thing that is killing you, put it up and look at it, and you will live. It's a symbol of the coming of Jesus Christ, that Jesus will be crucified, because cursed is a man who hangs from a tree. And he said, I'll become a curse, and you look at me and you will be saved. And now these things happened as a warning for us, so that we would not carve evil things as they did. We will not carve evil things as they did, or worship idols as some of them did. As the scriptures say, the people celebrated the feasting and drinking, and they indulged in pagan revelry. And we must not engage in sexual immorality as some of them did, causing 23,000 of them to die in one day. Now, I want you to understand what was happening around them when they decided to build the golden calf. In the daytime, a pillar of cloud. In the nighttime, a pillar of fire. In the daytime, there was manna coming. And now Moses had gone up the mountain was trembling. The mountain was trembling, And amazing things were happening in the mountain, and the presence of God was everywhere. And they say, we want another God. It's a very, very big lesson for us. Many of us would say, God, if you revealed yourself to me, things would be different. Then I wouldn't sin. And God is saying, and they're everywhere. When we did the book of Revelation, whole of creation is screaming at you and say, I am God. Every flower, every insect, every fish, everything. You look at the sky, the weather condition, the virus that we all have decided we have no control over is telling us, I am God. And in the midst of that, we turn and make our idols. Idols could be anything. It could be where my security comes from. My idol could be in the money, in my education, or I may just trip and fall, and I may be interested in another woman, another man. I talked about it, that there are many people who love conversing with women, and some of us led to say that some of your group was doing it. I hope it stopped now. But the fact is, you can make idols right in the midst of a powerful Bible study going in your midst, right in the midst of prophetic ministry going on in your midst, right in the midst of prayer going on, and somebody out there is losing focus and completely gets sidetracked. So he says, do not forget history. Never forget history, because in the midst of the presence of God, they wanted and they decided to make a golden calf. Grumbling is called as testing. What? You're putting God to test. When God is doing something, God, this is terrible. God is trying to make a painting. Imagine that. Huh? You went right in when 20% of the painting is over. Oh, this looks so ugly. God, this is terrible. What are you making? I thought you're making a portrait, but this looks so vague. You won't let God complete the painting, and you're testing God. And if you're a human being, you'll either throw the painting and walk up, or you'll take the paint and put it on the guy's head and walk off. That is called testing. Your wife is cooking. As soon as you come, what are you making? Chicken curry. No, my mother, she used to make chicken curry. The smell used to be so good. I don't like the size of the pieces. It looks so big. I'm telling you, this size will never cook. And the salt will not go in, the masala won't go in. Oh, look at the amount of oil you put, so less. What will you do after some time? Testing. You'll take that, chuck it in the dustbin and say, go eat your mother's food. Nor should he put Christ to the test, as some of them did, and they died from snake bites. Don't grumble, as some of them did, and were destroyed by the angel of death. These things happened to them as examples for us, to teach us things so that we too will not go and backslide in the same way because we are grumblers. They were written down to warn us who lived at the end of the age. That's why we must understand. We should look at every character in the Bible. We should look at Absalom and his pride, and how Absalom in his pride wanted to revenge his stepbrother's dead, raping his sister, and would go and kill. And his father would not have the courage to punish him and lets him go, and he comes back to destroy King David himself. King David. And at that time, there was an advisor of King David. He was the grandfather of Bathsheba. And because Uriah the Hittite was killed, he would join Absalom to ensure that David would be sent out of his own place. And teaches us important. You can't show partiality. If one of your son is doing the wrong thing, he needs punishment. So there are so many things that the Bible teaches us in the Bible, and unless we know that, we can also backslide. Remember these verses. So before I show you the picture, I want you to, pride is your ability, pride in your ability to stand is dangerous. Pride in your ability to stand is dangerous. If you think you're standing strong, be careful not to fall. If you think you're standing strong, be careful not to fall. The temptations in your life are no different what others experience. And God is faithful. He will not allow temptation to be more than you can stand. So when you are tempted, He will show you a way out so that you can endure. This was the problem with Goliath. Goliath is a great example for us to understand. He was so big in size that he thought nobody can touch him. And he was killed not even by a weapon, by a sling that he used to, kill dogs, hit dogs, by a small kid who could not take the weight of the armor. Why am I telling you this? If you think that you are a super strong man and looking down at other believers struggling in area, remember, you may get that little kid who will drop you down. One little incident can drop you down before you realize. So never ever be proud about your ability. Never ever be proud about your ability to stand strong without falling, right? Strong. Because what happens is that we end up in doing the most silly thing ever. Sometimes we behave like a fool. You'll be looking down at people. One day you're tired. One day you're exhausted. One day you're depressed. Your boss has scolded you. Some lady comes to the side. She puts a hand on your shoulder and tell you, don't feel so bad. I have gone through this problem in my life before. You go for coffee. Something happens. You end up in backsliding. You never thought that could happen to you. But Satan created such an environment around you. You can fall. I want to make you understand. Please don't ever take up an attitude like Goliath. Every day understand, if I stand, it's the grace of the living God. And I stand because God did not bring a temptation bigger than the one that I can handle. And ask your believing friends, please, brothers, pray for me that I can stand, because the fight is not against flesh and blood, but it's against principalities and powers of the dark world. Okay? Then he says, flee from idols. beautiful one. It's a book of Jeremiah. It says, "For my people have committed two evils. They have forsaken me, the fountain of living waters, and hewed out cisterns for themselves, broken cisterns that can hold no water." This is the problem of idolatry. God says, "I am your security." God says, "I am your strength." God says that, if you seek me, all your wants will be fulfilled, all your needs will be taken care. But I look at other things. When I want to get my daughter married, when I want to get my son married, it's all about who's got the maximum money. Sometimes it's worse because I get carried away and I do all kind of crazy things in my life. And because of that, it's extremely important that I do not go into idolatry. So, my dear friends, flee from the worship of idols. You are reasonable people. Decide for yourself if what I'm saying is true. What idolatry is he talking about in Koran? Every form of idolatry. Right from actually praying to the living God and to idols. I know I've seen people do that. I'd be surprised. You don't want to take a chance. My friends are saying, and sometimes when friends say, "I'll pray for you," I always tell them, it's perfectly nice. Your best wishes are okay, but we are praying. And I try to discourage them, actually, they can do it. I can't stop them from it. But I don't really count on that. And I try to make sure that in some form, I don't keep asking, "Did you go and pray for me?" I have Christian friends saying, "My wife will get healed." People, every church, every temple, every mosque is praying for me. Because he went and asked these things. I told you housewarming done, and somebody's conducting housewarming. He's having a regular Gentile worship. Because somebody told those spirits are very powerful, they'll protect your house. Anything can happen. I'm so shocked. Supposedly Christian. He used to come for the BMFI, Businessmen's Fellowship of India. This was his testimony. He was telling me that he was actually in Vizag, and this puja was supposed to take place in the house, and he desperately wanted to come. And how God provided him a last minute ticket and came. And I asked him, "I don't know who brought you. Are you sure this is God who made it happen in your life? Because what you're telling sounds crazy. Do you believe in Vastu, by the way?" Some people very worried. Christians, Vastu, good days, bad days. Do you look at astrology by any chance? Any one of you? Have you done that? When your children are born, you have a look at astrology. During the marriage, do you look at astrology? Then you're depending on systems that are leaking. Numerology, I do not know. Please, if any of you are involved in it, please stop at this moment. So that is exactly the opposite of trusting in the living God. That is exactly the opposite of trusting in the living God. Now I want to clear one confusion. So many people will think that last time you said we can eat food offered to idols. Now we are going to say you cannot eat food offered to idols. What I am trying to say, I'm saying that the food offers to idols had some significance, or that idols are God. Am I saying that food offered to idols had some significance, or idols are real God? No, not at all. I'm saying that these sacrifices are offered to demons, not to gods. And I don't want you to participate with demons. You cannot drink from the cup of the Lord and the cup of demons. You cannot eat at the Lord's table and the table of demons too. Now here we are talking about a totally different thing. I'm not talking about meat that has been preyed upon and sent out. I'm not talking about somebody went on the kitchen praying. No, I'm talking about you actually inside the temple, participate in the worship out there and eating that little food that comes out from there that is given right from the idol's table. Now that is totally different. That is a part of complete worship out there. That means you go inside, you participate. Now this is, for example, a kind of dance that takes place in West Bengal during Durga Puja. Now you say, "Oh, it's a form of dance," and you also get into that. So that's why, be careful about different things and different practices. Always look at the origin, look where it came from, look what is around it, and only then participate then. Because some of these are absolutely practices that you should stay away from. Now that is totally different. So please do not say, "Oh, culture, I went inside, got caught in the dancing." Some of these actually people are really possessed. You can see that happening. I've been in these places as a kid, and I want to make you understand this is radically different from what Paul talks about the meat that came into the temple. This is actually completely worship. And this worship, like I said, is not at all something that you're called to participate. You have to stay away. What do you dare rouse the Lord jealousy? Do you think we are stronger than he is? It's not about rousing jealousy, but as the word jealousy says, it's like, will you rouse God's anger? Do you want God's presence to move away from you when you start doing these things? So please understand, this is dangerous area. Then he goes on to say, you say I'm allowed to do anything. This is a standard statement in Quran. I'm allowed to do everything. Boss, India is a free country. I am allowed to do anything. Very standard statement in India also. I have crossed 18. I'm allowed to do anything. Nobody can stop me. I can sleep around the place. I have crossed 18. I can give consent. And the whole world is there. Another thing, I should experiment everything. So you should try everything. Try smoking grass also. Try drugs also. Smoke up some cocaine also. And finally, some of you lose your lives in that process. Some of you become addicts. Now here Paul is saying, you say I'm allowed to do anything, but not everything is good for you. You say I'm allowed to do anything, but not everything is beneficial. Don't be concerned for your own good, but for the good of others. Don't be concerned about your own good, but about the good of others, right? I'll show you a picture. I don't know how many in the group love to hang around these nightclubs. Everybody's smoking, everybody is high and happy. And you don't know what's going on after some time. You listen to songs with the music and the words are terrible. And you feel this is life. You end up there. And what Paul is saying, is that the place you should be if you're a believer? Is that the place you should be if you're a believer? And Christians can do anything. When I was young, there was a friend of mine who was telling me, you Christians are so lucky people. I said, why? All of you can have girlfriends. There is no problem. And I said, what gave the impression? All Christians have girlfriends, no? I said, no, I'm not sure. I don't have a girlfriend in the first place, he said. He said, that's not. He was just thinking, and anyway, you people have no problem about, sex before marriage. Where did he get this picture? He thinks what's happening in the Western nation, because we wear suits and have names like Timothy and Matthew, when we should be having, why should I be called Matthew? I don't understand. I should have a proper Indian name. Mohan or something would have been perfectly okay, right? So I have got an English name. So people think I'm an Englishman and I'm a foreigner, After all, the Matthews are not supposed to be in India. Some people thought that, because we're Christian, we should have English names. And I'm honestly telling you, it should be like Paul. In India, so my daughter's name is Ashwini. My son's name is Arun. It's perfectly okay. And we tend to behave like them, talk to them. And there are so many of us. We can only speak English. Foreigner, after all. Cannot speak in the local language. We pretend to be foreigners. And we do these things. So they think that, for a common Indian, every fellow who's living in the United States or England is a Christian. So you think whatever happens there is the preaching of Jesus Christ. And when we also do the same thing, because that's supposed to be modern, they cannot understand Christ at all. I put this picture of a lady who's looking really shocked, because your eating of something should not cause this lady to fall. So you may eat any meat sold in the marketplace without raising questions of conscience, for the earth is the Lord and everything in it. If someone isn't a believer, asks you home for dinner, accept the invitation if you want to. Eat whatever is offered to you without raising doubts. Very important. Somebody is calling you for Diwali. Hey, yaar, ghar aana, come home. We'll have dinner together. You're talking back to your wife. I don't think we should go. Oh, so you offered everything. This is what he's saying. Please don't do that. Just go there and eat. If you're only eating food and coming, there's no problem. But you're going to participate in the festival, that's it. Breaking some crackers, what's that? Do it. No problem. I have no problem at all that. I don't even think. Everybody, what is that? You can break crackers on New Year, you break crackers on Diwali, you can in Onam, whatever you want, I dislike it because you're polluting the environment. That's another matter. No, no, no. As Christians, we will stand out, and in that housing colony, I'll make everybody know I'm not like you. So everybody looks at the funny guy and you decide they would want to talk to you, don't want to part. Then when Christmas comes, I will go around. Come for Christmas party. Nobody wants to come for your Christmas party. Because they know one thing about you, that you will not like to even socially interact with them because you're decided all these are sin. And that's why Paul is trying to make you, if they call you for dinner, if it is there, tell them politely, brother, you honor your God. You know. I do not want to show some disrespect there because I actually cannot participate in this. So is it okay if I just stay away in the back and after the puja is over, I'll join you for dinner? So many times in our department, I do that. So my chairman knows it. You know what happens? We buy equipment all the time. Just last week, we gave an order for equipment for about 58 crores. Now, when this equipment gets come, there's a puja. Ding, 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 ringing the bell and doing that. So what? I'll be standing somewhere in the back. My chairman knows that. And he's not bothered about it because he knows that is it. I don't go inside and, because I'm the chief of the services here for the hospital, one of the senior most consultant. So the pujari often feels after chairman, he should bring the aarti to me. If he comes to me, I just smile. I don't do anything. That's it. I don't insult him. I don't do anything. I don't do anything. And after some time, everybody knows that I don't disrespect. I'm not there to do any wrong. Nothing has happened over the years. And honestly, sometimes I'm in a conflict also, but we are very nice now that we are in a gated community. So people don't come to collect chanda, chanda, which I don't know if you understand in South, but in the North, it's very common. They come in for collecting donation for their puja, whatever puja. Actually, these guys use it to make some money, have a great time, and they use it as an excuse. So many people are upset. Should we pay? Should we not pay? Sometimes I politely refuse and tell him with some social work. Sometimes they're real rowdies. Much more peaceful to give it rather than they burn the house and go. Seriously, I'm not too bothered because I just realized that some of these people are just hooligans, And unless the police control them, it's a nuisance. But praise be to God, if you're in a gated colony, such problems don't happen. People always keep coming. And all these, what the policy, don't get all this, get worked up with all this and lose out this, the joy of your salvation, you're worried, Whatever happened, what did not happen, this happened, I ate, I did not eat. But do not get involved into it. Do not become an active participant in all these things. Then he says, so eat whatever is offered to you without raising questions. But suppose someone there tells you, this meat was offered to an idol, brother. That goat, brother, actually they did an offering in the temple. And after that they brought it. Then he says, say, brother, is that true? Oh, I was not aware of it. Thank you so much. Don't eat it. Even if it's really tasty, just stay away so that the other brother doesn't fall and there's no problem. So why should my freedom be limited by someone else's things? If I can thank God for the food and enjoy it, why should I be condemned for eating? Okay. So you get this problem. He's telling that understand some meal, some food, it's all okay, but do not get actively involved. And if you think somebody is going to fall because of consideration for him, stay away. So he finally says, eat and drink for God. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do it for the glory of God. So even there, you can close your eyes and tell grace to yourself. There's nothing wrong. Even he won't mind it. You just close your eyes for 20 seconds. He can see you praying and you say, Lord, I thank you for the food. Bless it in your name. It's fine. So do everything for the glory of God. He's not going to get upset. Do you understand? I find that people of other religions, many of them are very respectful for your religion and the things that you do. And they actually will be surprised that you are even doing something like this. So just do that. Don't be too worried. But what he's telling here, of course, is whether you eat or drink, whatever you do it for the glory of God, right? But remember, so whatever you eat, always, every time, and some of the food you eat when it's not for the glory of God, you understand there's a problem, just take it away. Then it says, don't give offense to the Jews or Gentiles or the church of God. I too try to please everyone in everything I do. I just don't do what is best for me. I do what is best for others so that many may be saved. Paul is saying, every time I do, I went to go, I love the meat. For example, I love the mutton curry in West Bengal, where I grew up as a child. So when I go to somebody's house and the mutton curry is ready to be eaten, and somebody comes and tells me, brother, this is what happened, you should be eating. See, just don't eat it. Even though you feel it's fantastic, just because this poor man may suffer and hurt, or whatever it is. Sometimes there are very, very beautiful examples. I had a friend of mine whose wife had to completely go off sweets, so he also went off sweets. Not for any reason, just to show love and comradeship, so that she didn't have to get tempted every time he ate sweets. Even more beautiful was a friend of mine whose wife was on a chemotherapy for cancer and she lost her hair, so he also shaved his hair. But of the lot, the most beautiful example I had read was of a story of a child in a school who, because of leukemia, lost all the hair. So the child refused to come to school after the treatment. So the teacher asked, why is this little child not coming? So the mother said the child is too embarrassed because she is not having any hair on the head. So the teacher told the story to the kids in school and told, do you think we can do something to encourage this child to come back to school? Could you write a letter? Or do you think you can call? And one girl gave the most astounding solution. She said, why don't we all shave our head also? Can you imagine that? This was from a 7-year-old child that the suggestion came. Why don't we all shave our head also? The whole class would shave their head and visit that child and welcome the child to school. I'm just trying to make you understand. Sometimes people can do extraordinary things for love and do what is best for others. I'll just give you an example to the extreme we can go. Where we dress, where we clothe, how we talk, be a blessing for people all around us. Okay? Oh, I'm sorry. So that was the last slide, actually. I'm sorry. And I just want you to think of these things that we talked this evening. Think of the things that we first and the most important lesson we learned this evening was never forget history. And the history is in the Old Testament. Learn from people who are successful, people who are failures, people who stumbled, people who stood strong, people who repented, people who did not repent, people who did wrong things, and finally would become a curse for the families, that we will not do the same thing. Never become grumblers like the people of Israel. Never, ever become grumblers. And that was the first lesson that we learned, isn't it? We read about it. The next thing we learned was never to take pride in our ability to stand. John, look at that brother. I knew this was his character. I knew that, he's cheating. Never. Always understand, Lord, I thank you, Father, that this has not happened to me. It is your grace and mercy. And if at all do anything, try to bring him out of the pit. We talked about free from idolatry. Please don't trust in broken vessels and broken cisterns. Whether it's money or fame or famous people or influential people, let them not be. And do not participate in the table of demonic practices. You can do everything, but remember, not everything is good. You become a stumbling block, you destroy yourself, you fall into a trap. And if your eating is causing somebody to stumble, then stay away from that. Eat, drink, praise God, because in whatever we do in life, it's for the God's glory. And think of others in everything. I too try to please everyone in everything I do. I don't just do what is best for me, I do what is best for others. God has called you to be a blessing for others in the society. That's why He calls us the salt of the earth. Salt is a blessing. Food tastes amazing with a little bit of salt, but nobody will call it a salt curry. Mutton curry is mutton curry, chicken curry is chicken curry. If you put no salt, you'll want to spit it out. You are the salt of the earth. You are the light of this world. All of us are called to be blessing for people around us. And even this night, the Holy Spirit enable you to be a blessing for people in this generation. In Jesus' name, I pray.